Hi, I'm Tom Potosnak, the president of ExhibitSense. We'd like to help you get maximum measurable results at your virtual trade shows with a customized ES360 interactive virtual exhibit. Use it for pre-show promotion, during the show, post-show follow-up, between shows, and update as you go for use at all future shows. Don't settle for what the association offers. We'll help you go above and far beyond. If you want to connect directly to your clients and prospects as an add-on or perhaps even as an alternative to virtual shows, we'll help you produce your own virtual event of any size and scope in our fully equipped ES360 studio in Westboro, Mass. Now is not the time to stand on the sidelines and let your competitors get ahead. Virtual events are the only game in town right now, and we'll help you take full advantage of the virtual realm. We're here, just like we've been for the past 16 years, to help you achieve your trade show objectives, handle your event-related headaches, and treat you like we'd like to be treated. That's what makes ExhibitSense.
Look at that, huh? Well, good morning and welcome to Getting Back to Live in 2021, your guide to virtual and hybrid event success. My name is Tom Potosnak. I'm the president of ExhibitSense, and I thank you for being here. Now, we're a full-service trade show company. If you watch the little commercial that introed me, you've heard that. We design, produce, ship, store, install, dismantle, service trade show exhibits, and anything associated with trade shows, in-person events. Well, we've been around, 16 years now, and we've worked with a wide array of clients from startups to well-established companies. And over the years, quite frankly, some of our biggest clients are ones that we've grown right alongside over those years, and we're very proud of that. The point is, regardless of scope, whatever it is you need, we're here to help you achieve your event-related objectives, take care of the headaches, and as I said in the ad, treat you like we'd like to be treated, because as hokey as it sounds, I say it all the time, that's what makes ExhibitSense. Now, on March 7th of this year, we worked our last in-person event. And well, little did we know that was the way it was going to be. And although we honestly didn't want anything to do with virtual trade shows, virtual events, or anything virtual, I think we're all tired of the word virtual. It's almost as bad as pivot. But anyway, we did what we had to do. And interestingly enough, we wound up producing our client's next live event in virtual form right here in our ES360 studio. It was a 4-day event. Turned out to be quite a success. So we've learned quite a bit since last March. And in fact, we're going to be producing their next live event in virtual form once again, right here in March, a year after, well, you know what. Now, we also, in fact, we also wound up producing the live virtual event here for our company back in, August, where we normally have an open house event. And we didn't have the open house event. What we did was we held it virtually. And as it turned out, well, we wound up with more participants, and we ended up doing more business than we normally do. And that was, quite frankly, a bit of a surprise, but it was a welcome surprise. And believe me, we wouldn't be doing this again today if we didn't have that level of success previously, nor would our client Doble Engineering be working with us on their next live event. First of all, let me check the slides on this. There we go. They weren't moving before, but guess what? That's the ES360 studio, and that's us producing the Doble event, which, again, was quite a success. There you go. Look at that. That's the stage that I'm standing on. Okay, now listen, I'm not for one second saying that virtual events are going to take over for in-person events. They're not. And believe me, I've got a warehouse full of exhibits out there that need to go out to trade shows. We want to get back to work in the in-person realm. Our clients want to get back out there, and I'm sure we will. And what we're finding now is with the approval of the COVID-19 vaccine, which is going to be rolled out over some time now, I do believe we'll be seeing a return to virtual events in the not too distant future. In fact, as part of our survey, we did our survey questions that we sent out. We asked when people would be comfortable resuming business. And we see that 8% are ready to go right after the new year. But the majority of folks are looking at Q2 and Q3, which is what we're anticipating for the return of in-person events. Now, keep in mind that although we'll have a return to events, it's more than likely these are going to be what they're calling hybrid events, which are in-person events with a virtual component. So with our ES360 virtual environment, we're going to be ready for that. We also, and we're going to talk about this in our second session, we're going to show you our ES360 touch-free exhibit, which will help keep you and your staff and attendees safe, and also help you combine the unique advantages that we found in the virtual realm, combined with the obvious ones associated with in-person events. And after our second session, we will have 6 Zoom drop-in rooms where you will be able to speak live with representatives. I'll be in one of the rooms. We have different people in each one of those rooms where we can elaborate, answer questions, etc. Additionally, if you have any questions and you want to type them in, we can get back to them at some point. We certainly will. We're going to rip through the content. Got a lot to cover. And our goal, quite frankly, is to speak with you after this event, not only in the Zoom room, but I mean, get an appointment with you. Set a time where we can discuss what it is you're doing, what you're finding in terms of results, what's working, what's not, what your objectives are, and how we can help you reach those objectives. So toward that end, in the Event Hub, you can book an appointment, and I hope you will. You really have nothing to lose and potentially a lot to gain by doing so, at least investigating how we can help you with ES360 and virtual events. Now, going right into our first session, to give you a little bit of how this is going to work, we're going to have our first session of the 5 keys to virtual event success. We will take a 15-minute break after that. Then our second session regarding the hybrid events and the ES360 exhibit. After that, we will go directly into the Zoom rooms. Now, as far as timing goes, we're anticipating about 40 minutes or so for this, but I'm not going to be held to the clock. In other words, if we get through it quicker, we get through it quicker. We'll tell you when to come back. We just want to make sure that we give you good content and not try and fill time, and also not try and ramble on so you're here till 2 o'clock. Believe me, you won't be. So let's get to that first session, the 5 keys to virtual event success. And joining me remotely for this session is Rick Ritacco. Now, Rick, you can see him right there. How about that? Rick is a very successful marketing professional in the business-to-business world. He's the president of the Uncommon CMO. There he is. And he's worked with us as a client through the years, and now he's helping us out with things in the virtual realm. Very informed, very smart guy, knows a lot about all this stuff. So we're happy to have you here, Rick. Thank you for lending your expertise.
Thanks, Tom. That's quite a buildup.
Well, that's the way you wrote it. Just kidding. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. All right, let's dive into it. Now, the objective of these virtual events is what? We want to stay connected with our clients, our prospects, continue to do business, even though we're not able to do so in the in-person form like we used to. Now, virtual events. In our survey we sent out, we asked, what sort of virtual events are you people doing? And you can see 78% are attending webinars, 55% hosting them. And for those people who haven't hosted any sort of event, 77% said that webinars would be the go-to. Now, Rick, you've had experience with webinars, I'm sure, obviously holding them and attending them. What are your thoughts on the effectiveness of webinars and how they've been used?
Well, I tell you what, I think that webinars overall are a very strong vehicle, especially for folks in particular verticals that they're playing with. I think that tying webinars and into various experiences, I think it can extend the sale, it can extend the shows, it can keep people in there. So I think they can be very, very strong. With the virtual events, it's interesting. You signed up for a show, and whether it's to maintain your points for subsequent years, to keep a presence, you still got to get out there. You got to, get demand generation, lead generation, whatever the reason. And we're going to get into some of the, things you should be looking for going forward in this. But there's the webinars are definitely going to be a big play for you.
Absolutely. And the one thing I will say about webinars is I do believe you have to use them judiciously, because people want to stay in touch. They want to reach out to their clients, their prospects. But I don't know about you, but sometimes I tend to get a bit of an overload when it comes to webinar invites. And we have, in fact, a manufacturer that holds one every Thursday. And I decided to tune in one day, and honest to God, it lasted 8 minutes, and there was a lot of dead space. So I think the caution there is not to over-rely on these things.
No, I would definitely agree with that. I think you need to use them, as you said, judiciously. I think you have to have a good purpose. And listen, why are we here? People are very busy right now. Most people consider themselves extremely overworked during this current pandemic and working remotely. And they're finding themselves spread a little bit too thin. So be on point, be clear, be concise, and move on.
Right. And, the ES360 virtual environment that we've developed and we've had many clients use and have success with, it's kind of an answer to the webinars in a way, because it's another way to reach your clients or prospects, whether you're using it at a virtual trade show or at a standalone event where you're reaching out to clients, or, as a standalone. You can use it in conjunction with the virtual or as a separate thing. And getting to the virtual trade shows, our survey, once again, in terms of success in the virtual trade show world, well, you can see right there, 31% had moderate success, 38% not successful, 31% could not determine, and 8% of those who couldn't figure it out didn't even set goals. So I won't even address that audience, except to say that it's obvious the results are mixed. Your thoughts on the virtuals?
So with regards to the mixed results, those are actually, those are a little nicer than I probably would have placed it myself. What I found, especially with the onset of the pandemic back in March, April, when folks were scurrying in order to listen, let's face it, these are fundraisers for, these raise a lot of revenue for these associations and the different organizations who bring the shows to bear. They scurried in order to try to maintain that revenue stream. And some of the things that they put on, you're spending the same amount of money and you're getting to put up 2 PDFs, you're getting to put up 1 video and a website link. That's not the, that was not a very, very good way of going to market with it. And I think it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So I think these numbers are very nice. I found less success than that in my experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what we've learned from these numbers and also from talking with our clients is that, let's dive right in. I think you addressed it when you mentioned what the association was doing in terms of supporting the exhibitors at these events. And what we found is it's not a build it and they will come. It's not, okay, we're in a show hall. We know that we're going to try and invite as many customers, prospects to our booth as possible, but we're going to get traffic based on the fact that we're in a hall and people are in that hall. They're going to walk by and see the booth and go, oh, and they're going to come in. You don't have that in the virtual world.
You definitely don't, and that's really where pre-show or pre-event promotion is going to become more and more important as we continue in the world of virtual shows for the short term, and then with the transition to hybrid shows going forward. So I agree. You can't trust that they're going to be pulling the folks in, and there's also nobody walking by that you can pull out of the aisles when it's slow. So you really need to do that pre-show strategy.
Sure. In fact, when you mentioned that, it made me think of a show I did, an exhibitor show a number of years ago, standing on the aisle in front of our booth, and a young woman walked by and did not want to be spoken to. You know, people just kind of go by. And I said, "Good morning, what brings you here today?" And she recoiled in terror, and but then ended up talking with me and said, "Oh, well, we're looking for, possibly getting a booth." Well, we wound up producing 3 10x20s, one that went to the UK, 2 that stayed here. The booths grew into an island, 20x20, 20x40. And the point is, had it been the virtual realm, that never would have happened. So the point is, it's not build it and they will come. You have to produce your own experience. And what we found is with the ES360, easy for me to say, environment, we can help people do that and get away from what you mentioned, the PDF and the website link.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's that you're going to need to reach them in other ways rather than pulling them out of the aisle. How do you attract them there? And that's going to be through a variety of different vehicles, which I think we're going to talk about in a little bit. Absolutely. So I'll run through. So you want to leverage the virtual booth as well, the virtual ES360 environment. Use it for shows. Use it later on. What I say is you want to really have an integrated proactive outreach strategy. IPOS, I call it. Integrated proactive outreach strategy, whether it's in the virtual show or beyond that. So we will get into that in a bit. I want to make sure I didn't skip any slides. Oh, here's one. We did, like I said, we've had some success with clients with the ES360, and Lynn Wood from Wilson Language Training was nice enough to send along this note about how their ES360 virtual booth reignited the customer engagement they were missing, because one of the survey results that I won't post, but I found 30% of people weren't doing anything. And that is a shame, because you have zero chance if you're sitting on your hands. So let's dive into the 5 keys to virtual event success. And I mentioned the ES360 experience. We talked about webinars. What we're driving at here with these 5 keys are involved with having your own environment that you are using to work at virtual shows or as an outreach. So the first thing you want to do when you're diving into that with the ES360 is you want to choose an objective-based environment. And what we mean by that is this. Obviously, Rick, everyone's going to have, for the most part, different verticals, different markets that they want to reach. I'm sure that you've seen that over and over. Oh, absolutely. And again, understanding what you want to do by vertical, and in some cases, it's by persona within vertical. So, I could be looking at the A&E community, and I might be wanting to do something a little bit different for architects that I would want to do for engineers. And you might even put these folks into a persona of influencer, and then talk about construction. General contractors. So again, I think you need to be very, very specific in your objectives in order to gain the best results from your efforts.
Sure. Yeah. And the ES360 environment is fully customizable. We're going to show you some environments here, but it can be designed to look like your trade show booth that you normally use. It can be done completely differently. As I will show you the first inline environment, keep in mind that the key to these environments are the hotspots, the points of engagement. And we'll talk, Rick, a little later about what some of those are and how to use them effectively when we get into the area about keeping people engaged. But if you look at this environment, the Avidia Bank inline, now about a 10-foot, 12-foot space. The nice thing about virtual is it doesn't have to conform to trade show spaces. But what we have here, again, keep in mind, when this is used for a virtual trade show, when someone goes to the booth, if you will, through the association platform, you don't have to use what we call the cartoon booth or just the little links that they give you. We're designing a customizable environment so you can control the environment. But in this case, what NVIDIA did in their inline is they have 6 or so different ones, different audiences that they're trying to reach, and they do it with each specific booth. There's a video, and they have one that's addressed to CPAs, one that is for condo associations or buyers. And what they want to do is just, boom, communicate a message, have some information that you can download or apply for a loan or other information right there. So it's done very specific per vertical. This Wilson learning language booth, that one, they have 3 different areas that they work on. So they have different environments, different programs that they have. So again, there might be different verticals, different people looking at different things. Here, they address it in this larger space, 3 different areas as opposed to the way NVIDIA does it. So there's flexibility in how you do this. Now, one thing, when we talk about those verticals and how to address them, so here you have, like I say, some inline environments, and this is a static view, meaning you're looking at that, you click on the hotspots, and you can get whatever information you need. You also may want to use an island environment. Now, this is used generally when people are looking to kind of recreate their trade show exhibit that they use at a show. And if you look at what you see on the screen here, NFPA, they have a number of kiosks that have videos on each one addressing a different vertical. National Fire Protection Association handles all of the electrical codes, fire codes, regulations. So in their booth, they, as I said, many different verticals. They also will provide the NEC electrical code book, and they have a library essentially in their in-person booth that they've recreated in the virtual realm. And just to get back to you for a second, Rick, so I don't ramble on till dinner, let's talk a little bit about some of the different things you can use for hotspots and how they can be effective.
Sure, and Tom, I think that they're doing a very, very smart job in terms of customizing their message. Whether it's in a couple of different inlines or whether it's into an island. Again, specific messaging is going to drive better results. The hotspots can be used for a different of audience-centric experiences. You want to use them to engage people. You want people to interact. You want to keep them at the show. You can do everything from obviously general information and PDFs, brochures, and videos, but you can take a different approach and maybe use it as a gateway for specific personas or verticals where you can get them into a very specific customized experience for themselves. So the thing is, what's the strategy behind your virtual type booth selection? Are you trying to, budget's going to play a role. Are you trying to get to a variety of different verticals in one experience, or are you trying to create a custom one for each? Mm-hmm. And you can do that through the hotspots, potentially. Again, the associations or the organizations bringing the shows to bear, they may only give you one link, external link. So you want to get them to something that you can then get this person into an experience to engage them. And that's really where you want to use these hotspots.
Sure. One of the things that in this NFPA booth that is interesting, that booth was supposed to be used in June. Obviously, it was not. But they have a area where they have a roller coaster image. And it was going to be a place where you could stand in front of that, have a photo taken. Very, very fun and interesting. what we did when we put this together was we put a video of a roller coaster ride. So it's something that was fun. People would click on that, and it was really engaging. It really looked like you were going down and experiencing. And again, you can do that with VR. You can have goggles. It's another way to do some of the hot spots to make them engaging. But again, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about keeping people at the booth. Another environment, the showcase or ballroom. This one has proven to be quite popular and effective in that it mirrors essentially a room, a ballroom. And you can have an area where people check in if you'd like. You can basically have like a hub, a place where everything begins. And then from there, it'll rotate around the room, just like in the island environment, which is a fly-through. You can go and spin around, do all kinds of fun stuff. In the showcase or ballroom, you can do the same thing. You can go around with your mouse and look and see all the different areas. And when we talk about verticals, and this is something I know you're aware of, what Doble did was they actually got about 18 of their manufacturers, their partners, and they had a kiosk for each one of them. And they held essentially a trade show within their environment so people could come and click on those manufacturers. And quite frankly, they were more robust than most things people get from the association when they're buying a booth for a few bucks. So.
And absolutely. And the thing is that if you have different verticals or different personas that people can enter into, they're going to self-select, and that's going to allow you to create a better experience. It's going to create a customized experience for them, and it's going to be very measurable. You're going to see, well, who actually attended this? What did they do? So I think we're going to talk a little bit more about metrics and whatnot later on, but that's so important in terms of refining your offering for the next show as well.
Right. Now, the second key that we're going to talk about. So what we've done is we've chosen an environment that's going to work based on your objectives. Well, now it's about getting them there, getting people to your, to whether it's your virtual booth at a show or if you're having a standalone event. And Rick, I know we've spoke about this and about ways to get people there. And if you'll kind of cover some of those, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. And as we're seeing on the list here, and again, I don't need to read to you, but email blasts, social media, there are a lot of things that people are going to do to get folks there. Again, I would hesitate anyone to rely on the association or the organization doing the show to bring everyone there. You want to do your own outreach in order to get the best return on your investment. And that could be everything from sending out a 3D mailer. You could send out passcodes, if you will, to some of your people along with invitations that they then could go to your virtual experience, scan a QR code or click on something and see if they've in fact won something. So it could be a booth giveaway or anything along those lines. But you getting folks out there through a variety of different virtual as well as physical vehicles, I think is very, very important. I love the idea of the 3D mailers. I also, don't forget your website. Website's so important. So, for example, a month or so prior to the show, are you putting up banners on your website? Very, very smart thing to do in terms of giving people invitations to get there. I would also highlight who from your team will be on the site. Again, anything we can go on there, we can put on there. You could also be looking at programmatic advertising, so getting very specific into verticals or personas. You can also be looking at retargeting. Most recently, an organization that I worked with, they had over 10,000 visitors that were driven to a virtual event, and it was driven to a virtual event through YouTube, through social media. They ran a promotion out there. They retargeted folks who had visited their website or visited the association website, and they used that to serve up other links later on. And they ended up driving a lot of folks there. So you need to be clever with this. Have a little fun with it. Again, we're in this cold virtual world right now. So the more that you can warm it up and make it personal, the more draw you're going to get.
I agree. And we're going to talk analytics a little later. But you'd mentioned email blasts. So we're talking here, obviously, any of this, but you're looking at pre-show promotion. And with the analytics with ES 360, what you can determine is how people got to your environment, whether it's the booth at the show. Let's say it's at the virtual show. So if you send out an email blast or you send out incentives to get people to come to your environment before the show even opens, you don't need to wait. You own the booth. Use it anytime you want. Get people to come there beforehand. What we're trying to do is control the experience. I know we've spoken about this and used this analogy. Think about Amazon. People can buy from you on Amazon and they can shop on Amazon and they're going to see all your competitors as well. Well, would you rather have them on Amazon or on your site and controlling the narrative, if you will?
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is a whole notion of extending the show, and you can extend it forward, or you can extend it backward, right? So when you have the virtual experience, you could hang that off of your website, and you can leverage this at any point. Again, pre-show is great. And that's even a better way in terms of managing your staff, during the show time, if you drive folks there before and after the show as well, is to spread that out.
Yeah. We've got to look at it as a big picture initiative, not just Absolutely. I did the virtual show and it didn't work. So I think sorry, I've heard that a few times. But and by the way, I'm not trying to sell anyone on doing a virtual show. I do think they can be effective. And oftentimes there are great reasons to do it. One of them we spoke about earlier, and that might have to do with retaining points and things for the in-person, the return to in-person. But be that as it may, if you're going to do it well, and make sure you can carry it forward. So our next area, keep them there. Okay, so if we can get them there, we got to keep them there. We don't want them. And this is where I think the virtual shows are so disappointing, when you get to the booth and there's one thing to look at, or there's just one thing it's not very robust. Whereas when we prepare an environment for you that takes them off platform and engages them, that's very important. And you had mentioned something when we spoke a couple of days ago about one way to do that, and that is to essentially have a show within the show. Have so much going on in your booth or in your environment that people are going to be engaged. Can you speak to a couple of those thoughts you had mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, Tom, I think you need to make this about exciting and engaging as possible. People are viewing it from home. They've been working from home, so they have other issues that come up, whether it's emails or whether it's a little fire they have to put out. When people were on site at shows, they were engaged. They were there. They were feet on the street in order to look at the show and to work through the show. Now you really have to engage them in a much different way. Having a show within a show, I think, is really, really a neat concept. When you go to a normal trade show, there's speaker events and everyone leaves and goes to a speaker event. Well, there's no reason why within your virtual show you couldn't have your own speaker event now. It's a link that hangs off. You do pre-show promotion in terms of getting people there, or in your virtual booth promotion, that you have a speaker from XYZ who's going to be here. I think this is a very, very important way of extending and engaging people and really positioning yourself as an industry expert and differentiating yourself.
Absolutely. I mentioned in our last virtual event back in August that I do know a company that hired Keith Urban for $150,000 to play a 45-minute set from his living room. Now, you may not have the budget for that. Maybe you can afford me or as someone of limited ability, but obviously kidding. But you could have a lot of different things. I've seen people use magicians. You don't want to make it hokey or silly. But again, if you're creating impact and you're having people say, hey, this company did this, it was really cool, it sets you apart.
Absolutely. And I think putting things in your virtual experience that are going to drive people back, repeat visitors, I think is going to be real important. And that could be having a presentation schedule. It could be having events that are recorded that people can go in and access at any point. Again, differentiate yourself from the other folks who are in their virtual booths or just in the association booth down the hall from you in the virtual world.
Sure. Another thing I want to mention, and this isn't really necessarily related to keep them there specifically, but many people have a hard time navigating the association platform. They've got supposedly a do-it-yourself upload, do this, do that. Not always all that easy. And one of the things we do, obviously, when we're creating the environment, is we help our clients upload, fill out whatever needs to be, just like we would do with their show book or any of the things that we would help them with service-wise at trade shows or in-person events. And I want to throw this quote up here, which is kind of long, but I'll hit the hot spots on this. This is a Video Bank. Janelle Mason, who's the Senior VP Chief Marketing Officer. What she addresses here is the fact that we made it easy. And again, that's something that we emphasize at ExhibitSense. The whole name ExhibitSense came about because I said, look, let's do what makes most sense for people, okay? Because when you do that, you have long-term clients. So we made it easy for them, from the design to how all of this stuff works. And we really partnered with them. And that's why I have Rick here, because Rick he's going to be available to help us out as well when we're working with you, with different clients and in strategizing. So it's not just about design, it's about strategy, and it's about navigating these waters. So,
Tom, it's a good point. Every one of these shows has a different sort of portal in terms of uploading information and everything else. And some of these don't have the best roadmaps or the best instruction sheets in terms of doing it. So having ExhibitSense at hand to help with these things, I think is going to be critical.
Sure. And just a bit of a summary about some of the things you can do to keep them there. One of the things I didn't mention that I think is important, and Doble Engineering did this with their showcase that they put out. Not only did they do a live event here, but they have showcases that they've pushed out to audiences that people will go to and engage and learn. And what they did was they had an intro video. So when someone went to that space, they said, oh, there's the video. And they were essentially given an overview of how to navigate, what the idea was behind the showcase. So that makes it clear. It's not like you show up and you're like, where do I go? So that's something that we didn't discuss. It's very helpful.
Sure. And again, the key here is to bridge the physical and virtual world, in my opinion. You could do a virtual product presentation. You could think out of the box a little bit too, and have client dinners. And how do you do that? Well, could you do a Zoom room after the show hours and have DoorDash bring them dinner? And think about, again, how do you warm this medium? How do you engage people and really put your best foot forward?
Exactly. Well, now we also want to obviously now get them to take desired action, whatever that might be. I told all of you here at the beginning of this in the introduction, my goal is to have an appointment with you. Let's get on a Zoom call. Let's dive in. Let's find out what you're doing, what's working, what's not, where you want to go, how we can help. Again, nothing to lose, everything to gain there. So I'm being right up front with it. That's what we want Love to do, is help you with that. But there are a number of things that you might want people to do. And Rick, you've done much of this yourself, and your thoughts on trying to get them to take that action. I'm sure it's tied in with the keep them there as well.
Absolutely. Again, ultimately, it goes back to your initial objectives by persona, by vertical, and what do you want to accomplish at the show? And the great thing about the virtual experience, and by virtual experience, I mean the inline booth, I mean the showcase, not necessarily the association's show booth, but it goes back to how do you measure what they're doing? And you can see the measurements through the ExhibitSense platform, through ES360, and you can then refine for the next opportunity as well, which is something we'll chat about a little bit, but that's really important. Are they filling out surveys? Do they want a product presentation? Are they signing up for an appointment? Again, what are they doing? Who's doing it? And then how do you make it better for next time? That's the critical part.
Absolutely. And so I think number 4, get them to take the desired action, is so really bound and tied with number 3, because the more engaged they are, the more interested they are, the longer you hold their attention, the greater the likelihood is you're going to get them to do that. But I think the big point here as well is making sure that you communicate accurately and often what it is that you'd like them to do. So that ties into number 5, which is very important, and that is measurement, analytics. I know you had mentioned in that first slide about how people were having a little more success than you thought they might, but there was also a number of people who didn't, or people who didn't know, and that's because, well, they weren't measuring what it was that they needed to measure.
No, and that is, again, the measurement, the analytics to me is the most critical part. Again, you're setting up these initial objectives, and then you need to figure out, are they working? You can see the effectiveness of your virtual booth, the materials, the QR codes, all the aspects of your show components. You know, you want to score these, you want to grade them, and you really want to have your sales members blocking time to work the hottest or the most engaged leads or visitors that you have. It'll help make your presence better for future shows, refine the experience based on the engagement. I think one thing that people do is they think that they know best. Don't think that you know best. Think that your audience and your visitors know best, and let's see what they're doing, and then engage based on that.
Yeah, very interesting point, because with the ES360, we have like 3 levels of analytics, and I'll speak to these. You can see them on the screen. The level 1 is pretty much the most basic, and we call that the 30,000-foot view. You can get the aggregate data, number of visits, how many people are coming to the booth, the bounce rate, who's coming and dashing right away, average length of session, what they're clicking on, where they came from. We mentioned that earlier. Did they come through an email? Did they come through your website? That's very important. And we also have, which I think is pretty cool, we have a heat map that shows where most of the activity was. Now, and we can put together reports for you. Now, all good stuff, because this is going to give you that, again, that big picture, and you can get a feel for which hotspots are working, which ones are being visited, which ones are not.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Think about it. When you're at a physical show, you don't have these options. You know, you scan someone, that's pretty much your measure of success. Maybe you put a few notes in, but knowing exactly what materials people are gathering, how they're engaging, that's wonderful stuff to have, and that'll help you optimize your process.
Absolutely, and you can take it to the next level, level 2, which includes everything you see in level 1. But what you'll do is have them sign in to the booth. Call it a virtual badge scan, as it were. And with that, you can find out who they are, get their name, their email. So now, again, you know they visited, which means you're obviously going to want to follow up with them. And of course, there's analytics reporting on everything that you saw in level 1. But level 2 is kind of a stepping stone to what I think is the most important level, and that's our level 3. It's the same as level 1 and 2. You're going to get all that aggregate data. You're going to know who's there. But what you're going to get here, and this is very unique to ES360, is you're going to know unique visitor activity, meaning, Johnny the Glom went here, there, and clicked on this, downloaded that, spent this long here. That sort of information is obviously invaluable.
Absolutely, that's your low-hanging fruit. If you know that John went in there and did all this, and this, he's going to be at the top of your call list. Come close of business that day, or close of the show, or the next day following the show. Again, it helps you prioritize and gets the best return on what your investment's been.
Sure, and what you can do as well is through the app that we have there. You can also set up flags or markers. In other words, if you have 15 hotspots and you know that Johnny went to 3 of them and spent a few seconds on each, well, Johnny, might get a call, but it'll be, down the line. But you can have incentives built in. Hey, click, visit all our hotspots and, win a dream date with Ox, as I said last week. But, you can incentivize based on that. And you're going to know if it's real engagement, if they just click once and get out or whatever. But I do think that being able to flag that and know, wow, we're really talking, somebody is interested. Yeah. Well, he is in New Hampshire. And sometimes...
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I lost you there.
Okay, good. It was you, not us.
Yeah, no, it was definitely me. Definitely me. But I was saying that, again, helping you prioritize, and if there's low engagement, they can turn around and they can simply put them into nurture tracks. Again, stay top of mind post-show. Let your marketing automation tool go ahead and, keep them in touch. Great.
Now, I want to show you this slide about association analytics data. What would equate to level 1? This was in the survey. Would be 54% of virtual trade show goers were getting that. Level 2, 31%. So essentially, you're getting big picture data and big picture data, name and rank and serial number and all that. And only 8% are getting anything equal to level 3. And I'm going to guess it might not even be equal to level 3. 23% weren't getting analytics at all. And 55% of respondents said they want level 3 analytics, which by and large, they're not getting, but they can certainly get with us. So.
Yeah, I honestly think that if a show's not giving you analytics and you don't see their analytic package prior to him, that's a tough call.
Yeah. So we want to summarize a bit. Benefit to owning a virtual booth. You own it. You can reskin it, use it for multiple shows. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you do one. Brand recognition and consistency. You can read off this. I don't want to insult you by reading for you, but you will stand out. You will get better analytics. Essentially, you'll get better results. And I'm going to close with this quote, which again is a longer one, but I'll tell you, it's one we're very proud of. Because this is from Chris Haley, the event project manager at Doble Engineering. We produced their event. We're producing another one. We've produced showcases for them. And by the way, we've done things for many clients, but I just thought this was worth looking at. For someone to say that she wishes it were a week ago and we were still doing the event and had never, ever wished that in her life, well, that says a lot. So we're very proud of that. And she looked forward to the possibility of partnering on something new, exciting, and equally challenging. And guess what? That's what we're doing. So, folks, on that note, I've run a little long, but I appreciate your attention. We will now take a break, 15 minutes. So what do we say, kids? 10:05? 10:05. And we've got our second session about the ES360 hybrid exhibit, which I think you're going to find really interesting. Thank you.